Hey, what's up guys? My name is Emiliano. Today, you probably clicked on this video because I say that less is more when it comes to bodybuilding and being a remote closer. Now, I am specifically speaking to all of my remote closers or remote workers in general. Why? Because we have a lot in common, right? We are limited on time, limited on food, limited on mental energy. And what I mean when I say less is more. What I mean is that usually when first getting into the gym, the first thing that the first mistake that I see a lot of people make, which I definitely made myself, and I would like all of you guys to skip over, is thinking that you hear all the time, the more you put in, the more you get out, right? However, there's a balance to everything. So when you hear that all the time, you think, well, I'll go to the gym, I'll do an extra hour, I'll do an extra set, I'll do an extra rep, I'll do more and more and more, hoping that I'll get more out. But there's a balance to everything, like I said. I definitely made this mistake, not only in the gym, by what I just said, not just by doing too much volume, doing too many sets, doing too many reps sometimes, to the point where I would take every single set to failure, and it would just put me in a position the next day where it's just detrimenting every single day after that because of the muscle soreness, which affects my performance not just inside the gym but outside the gym as well. Um, and that's just the gym. Take into account nutrition, I would do the same thing. More food, more protein, more gains, right? Wrong. Don't make this mistake because I made this and I don't want you to have to waste time going and making this mistake yourself when you could just be making gains, performing better, and just being overall more efficient. Now, this is especially good for you guys, my remote closers and workers. Why? Because you can have best of both worlds. You don't have to make fitness your whole life, which is exactly what I preach, right? I like to help you guys because we all have the limiting belief that if you want to be fit, if you want to have a six pack, you want to look good, you have to dedicate your whole life to the gym. But that's not true because fitness is a lifestyle. Um, and if it's a lifestyle, something that you do for years on end, right? So you don't have to count calories, you don't have to cut out dinners with your family, you don't have to say no to events because you have to eat in a specific way or be in a restrictive diet, right? I 100% do not preach that at all. And that's a good thing for all of us. Why? Because if your goal is to have a good physique, have a six pack, feel better, have that mental clarity, there's so many benefits to the gym. You don't have to put in so much to get that out, right? You can have high ROI, high return on your investment without having to invest so much time and energy. You can have best of both worlds, essentially. Now, how does this relate to less is more? Well, exactly that. If I would have eaten less, as in less calories, maybe a little bit less protein, always having a high in protein diet is good, but either way, the more protein, the more calories most of the time, right? But yeah, if I would have just eaten less calories, eaten at maintenance instead of bulking for so long, like as you can see here, these are clips of when I used to eat 5 meals a day, eating way above my maintenance calories, like at least 1,000, thinking that I was being productive when in fact it was the opposite. Not only was I eating all that much, but I was training like a freaking maniac in the gym. Which of course it's good, right? You want to be a savage. You don't want to go in the gym and just do whatever. You want to always have the intention of stimulating muscle growth, but at the same time that also has a balance, right? Before I used to go to the gym, hit 5 sets on a super exhausting exercise, like for example, Bulgarian split squat, take it all the way to failure to the point that my legs were shaking. I was literally sore 10 minutes after the exercise, thinking, why did I do that? Because I was afraid that I wouldn't make gains if I didn't do that. But in fact, it did the opposite. Not only was it detrimental towards my recovery, but it was detrimental towards my mental clarity, my ability to focus while working at home, all these kinds of things. Because trust me, when you do that, the day after, you guys can probably relate. You're it's almost like 8 hours of sleep is not enough. It's like you wake up and you wake up tired because your body's still struggling to recover from all that. And that's because you're affecting your central nervous system. So less is more. Find that balance, learn to hit failure in the gym, but not on every single set, to the point that, I mean, if you can, I mean, there's a lot of people that are okay with that, that their bodies can actually recover, but you know who you are. If you know that if you hit failure every single set and you're doing too much volume, you'll feel it the next day. And you just have to be honest with yourself. But that's okay, because it doesn't mean that you're going to make less gains. In fact, it's going to be better if you do less. A little bit less volume, but just more intense. Do 2 sets, both to failure, but you're going all out. Why? Because that's going to give you the same gains, stimulate the same muscle growth without giving you all the extra bad stuff like, being so sore the next day, not being able to focus, being tired, all that. And same thing goes for calories. If I would have eaten less, I wouldn't have had to spend 6 months, of the past 6 months, cutting and spending all this extra time, just getting rid of the fat, as opposed to continuing to build more muscle and strength. I could have ended up in this same spot with the same physique that I have now if I would have just, not rushed through things. I would have actually saved more time. It would have felt like I wasn't, because I wasn't, putting on weight every single day. But in reality, you're going to have to pay that extra time once you get too fat or once you start feeling bad. So less is more, guys. So by focusing more on consistent efforts that you can go 100% at, as opposed to going to the gym, giving it 200% one day and then giving it 50% the next day, because you're detrimenting yourself from one day to the other. It's better to stay consistent from the whole week and know that you're still progressing. Like, obviously you don't want to go all the way to this side of the scale, because of course you don't want to be the guy that just goes into the gym, does a few sets and hopes for the best, right? You still want to be getting stronger. You still want to, feel sore from time to time, but it shouldn't be an everyday thing. You shouldn't feel sore to the point that it's detrimental towards your mental energy, your focus. It's affecting your day-to-day life. So don't do that. I want you guys to save this part of your journey. Don't make the same mistakes. They always say a smart man learns from his mistakes, but a wise man learns from the mistakes of others. And that's what I want you guys to do. Hopefully I can get to most of you guys and give you guys value. You guys can see it and give value to you guys' life, so that way y'all can have a better journey, feel better, and actually see the beauty in bodybuilding without having to go through so many of the downsides. Check the link in the description. There's my socials. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok. Thank you guys so much for watching. And if you think you would benefit from a more personalized program, you can apply to work with me down there. See if it would make sense for us to work with each other. Get a one-on-one plan set up for you guys. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. See you guys in the next one. Bye.